everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive. I'm Diana Chen, and I'm back with our co-founder, Brad Cam, to do another deep dive with you on domain names. Today, we're talking all about security, and we're going to do a deep dive into some of the security issues that we see with traditional domains, and there are many. So, Brad, thank you so much for joining me with us. And I guess a good place to start today would be, what are some of the key security issues with traditional domains?
Yes, I think it all comes back to this key idea that crypto solves, which is ownership and custody. So traditional domain names require a custodian. They require a company like a GoDaddy or one of these other registrars to store your domain name for you. And they get hacked. So GoDaddy in November of 2020 was social engineering hacked, which means that a hacker was able to convince an employee of GoDaddy to hand a specific domain name over to them, and then they stole a bunch of money. And this kind of thing just gets to this core problem of having a custodian, is that somebody can make a decision with your domain name, and that can be the wrong one. And GoDaddy wasn't trying to do anything wrong there. It's just the nature of them being a custodian created this security risk. So that's one example. Another crazy example is that governments around the world can put their thumb on the scale here. They can kind of pressure registrars, or even companies can pressure registrars to move domains around. And one crazy example that went on for years and years and years was the French government fighting with this guy who owned France.com. And I think he bought it in like the 1990s or something like that, and was fighting about it. And ultimately, the court ruled that it shouldn't be his anymore. France, the government, should have it, and they wound up taking it. The registrar was part of that process. So kind of just a crazy quirk of having these custodians.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so that's about registrars as custodians, but what about the registry companies themselves?
Yeah, so registry companies themselves, similar issue, because they have kind of control over updating the records of who owns what domain names. And so this is kind of an extreme example, but there was a registry called .cat that was launched by groups of people operating in Catalonia, focused on the Catalonian independence movement. And the Spanish government didn't like this, and so they went in and they arrested the employees of the company, and they shut it down. And then all the websites went down. And so again, whether you believe that that was the correct move or not the correct move, for all those people that had registered those domain names, those .cat domain names, they all went down because of this security problem. So that's one crazy example. There's another crazy example, which a lot of people probably don't know about, is that certain registries have made deals with the Motion Picture Association of America, for example. And what the deal was the MPAA was concerned about copyright infringement, about people launching websites and posting links to downloadable movies and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure a lot of people have seen that. Huge problem on the internet. But what this deal said is that the domain name can be taken down before a court order. So that means that the registry and the Motion Picture Association of America have made a deal to kind of go around the courts. So before the court decides to weigh in, you can go ahead and lose your property, lose your website, lose your business, whatever. Again, not to say whether you think it's wrong or right in a specific case. It comes down to the way that the whole system works and the security of it. Last one, crazy example. There's a registry called .ly. A lot of people use it for a lot of different things because it's like, adding Lee to turn a word into an adverb. So a lot of tech forward companies and others, people around the world have been using it. .ly is a country top level domain name system controlled by Libya. And so at some point in the early 2000 teens, the Libyan government changed over and started enforcing more Islamic law on the registry. And as a result, they started taking down websites all over the world. There was I think a Canadian website that went down that was using .ly because it was considered to be in violation. So again, not a moral comment about any of this stuff. It really comes back to the security that The registries who are in control of all of this stuff are taking opinions on what you as the user can do, and it leads to some pretty bizarre results.
Wow, those are some pretty crazy examples. So then real quick, tell everybody, how do blockchain domains solve some of these security issues that we see with traditional domains?
Well, so the first thing is that there is no registrar. There's no GoDaddy equivalent. You just store the domain name yourself inside of your cryptocurrency wallet. And then in the case of the registry, unstoppable domains can't raise prices on you or take the domain away from you or any of that stuff. So you don't have to worry about the registry's future behavior. You don't have to have any specific relationship with a registry or a registrar going forward. But the real thing here is that your domain name is secured by your private key, in this case, your private key in your Ethereum wallet, which is then secured by billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of computing power. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are probably the two most secure systems on the planet. And that's what we're using. That's what you're using for your security. And so effectively, in order for somebody to take your domain away from you, they would need to go physically get the device in your hand. They would need to go get your phone or whatever you were using to store your domain name. So that's the real difference. Like, you control your security here, and you're relying on this massive, massive machine, the blockchain, which is expending all of these resources in order to create the most secure platforms that we've ever seen in the history of the world.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brad, for joining me on another episode of Deep Dive. If you have any other questions about some of the security issues with traditional domains or how blockchain domains solve those issues or anything we talked about in this video, please tweet us at Unstoppable Web or leave a comment below and we'll make sure to get all of your questions answered. Thanks.